Hello and welcome to episode 92 of the Dash News podcast. I'm Mark Mason and I'm joined by my two fellow hosts, Joel Valenzuela. How are you?
Fantastically.
Excellent. And Brian, aka Mastermind. Good week?
Yes. Excellent.
Feeling happy?
Yes.
Energized for the podcast?
Yes.
You ready for this?
Feeling
Yes.
dashy.
Feeling super dashy. I'm feeling super dashy because
you have no idea how dashy I'm feeling, but we'll see later.
I'm normally dashy and I stay dashy 24/7, but the guest we got on the podcast this week is Rodrigo Ambrissi, aka Dash Brazil. Welcome back to the podcast.
Yes, good to be here once again, guys. Thanks for having me. Lots of things to talk about from the past couple of weeks, couple of months.
Well, let's start out with the elephant in the room. How often do you match the glasses frames with your shirt?
I got a few colors here. I got a purple one. I got a red one. I got an orange one that I made for Bitcoin.com when I went to Tokyo. I had an orange shirt as well, and I have the black one too.
Wow.
Do you have a pink one for when you go shirtless?
No, I don't. I gotta get one.
Well, in special honor of Rodrigo being on the podcast, as he's like the Brazilian version of me, I brought out some glasses as well. Hey!
There you
go. Happy days. I bet everyone in the live chat is loving that. But all right, shall we all do it? Okay, let's all do it. Right, I'm getting some crazy glare on my light looking at me, but right.
Brian's born ready though. He's always been there.
So, Rodrigo, man, you've been traveling about a lot, right? This last couple of weeks. You've only just got back, so give us a recap of where you've been and what you've been doing just over the last couple of weeks.
Well, January, I was at the North American Bitcoin Conference, which was kind of scary comparing to the size of the conference the previous year. They reduced the amount of speakers, venue, exhibitors, sponsors. I mean, it's the crypto winter. It's hitting everybody, you know. So if you think you're doing bad, can you imagine those big corporations laying off 50, 60% of their personnel? February, two places was a different proposal that I put out because the price of Dash dropped so much, so I wouldn't have enough funds. They invited me to speak in Acapulco to talk about the Venezuela documentary. Jeff Burke ended up seeing the documentary, invited me. I was like, yeah, of course I want to go speak in Acapulco. And at the same time, I was invited to go speak on the same week at the Campus Party Brazil, the largest hackathon, nerd computer gamers conference, get-together camping event in Latin America, which was awesome.
Wow.
I didn't see that one. Yeah. Was that one in English or?
I have one video in English of me walking around and showing. They had a drone race arena, hundreds of thousands of gamers, mechanics, robotics, robo fights, augmented reality. It was awesome. I've never participated in one of those events. We definitely have to have a Dash booth there next year. I record about, I think, 14 videos there, but all in Portuguese, and one walk around in English that I posted yesterday.
I think you're the only. Yeah, sorry.
I was going to say, what was the turnout like? Because I wanted to ask you about an Acapulco, but that event sounds a lot more exciting. I mean, you say gamers and hackers and stuff. Like, how big was this event? How many people do you estimate were there? And was there like a cryptocurrency presence there, or was this just like leisure for you?
So it's a technology hackathon gamers event. 9,000 people, I think 800 speakers, 5 days. Last year, Bill Gates was the main speaker at the event. I didn't have time to actually go see any, but they set up one technology stage to talk about blockchain. So they invited me to talk about blockchain, Bitcoin, and of course, Dash Digital Cash. I did a 2-hour presentation. I made a human blockchain, a human decentralized network with because it was like a basic level entry, you know, for the seminar, for the workshop. The organizer absolutely loved it. He's like, you're already invited to come back next year. So then I'm gonna plan a bigger proposal to have a Dash booth there and have, you know, personal and shirts and, you know, open wallets and all that. That would be really cool.
Yeah, I think you were the only person at Acapulco, right? The only Dash speaker.
The only Dash speaker, yes. I bumped into several people wearing Dash shirts. I put on Twitter, you know, there was about 7 or 8 guys over there, and the normal Acapulco crew, which they already know. And Danny was there as well. Chuck was there with the radio show. They recorded tons of content in English. They parked the RV there, so it was actually pretty good to hang out with those guys.
Yeah,
Right.
and then we had that report that AnyPay said that Dash was like the #1 used crypto at one of the big restaurants, or
yeah, the vegan restaurant there. They had a payment system as well. I forgot the name of the guys. Derek. They ended up buying the car, and the car dealership.
Yeah, Derek and Stephen.
And Stephen, they were there with the payment system, so they put on the restaurant, and also one of the tours, the turtle party. There was a turtle party. I didn't go to the turtle party. You watch the turtles go back into the ocean. I'm not really into that, but there was a party and drinks, and you could pay, and majority of the people ended up paying with Dash. That's where the guy told me.
Wow. Well, I did actually see your talk, thankfully, because you uploaded the video, and I'm happy because I saw my big mug on the screen. So I was like, yeah, I know that guy. He looks extra dashy. Oh, that's me. So I was like, but yeah, I think you did a really good job, actually.
Thank you. They normally record the talks, but I bring my 2-3 cameras and I set up everywhere around the room to show different angles because it gives more dynamic on the video, you know, being a video guy. Plus, there was another guy from the Red Pill organization there recording. He also gave me the footage from the camera. So I added right away 3 cameras with the PowerPoint. I normally bring a voice recorder that'll record the audio straight from the board, so it sounds like a good audio, not just ambient audio, because if you're listening, kind of bothers you if there's too much background noise. And then I edit all together. And a 15 minutes video takes about 6 hours with 3 cameras, and then it's on air already.
Yeah, I noticed at the bottom of the stage there was a Dash banner. Was that just for your speech, or was?
Yeah, I sneaked that one in without paying for a sponsorship.
But there was a number. I saw some photos of many people. Ron Paul being one of them. I know sometimes at these events you get a mixture of different sponsors, and rather than just looking like the headline speakers, I always want to know how Dash performs there. So, like in terms of the audience and the people in the attendance, do you think that they resonated with Dash and your talk, because your talk was largely around the documentary that you've done? So actually the 2 documentaries that you've done, both for Venezuela and Colombia. So I'm guessing a lot of people in that audience weren't privy to the documentaries that you've done. So I'm assuming a lot of people had a lot of questions for you, including the speakers as well.
Yeah, well, the best thing that happened was before my talk, they had a panel that 2 people didn't show up. So they canceled the panel 20 minutes before the panel went up. And I was already there waiting for the panel. And the organizer, she came to me. She's like, oh, you know, do you mind starting half an hour early? I'm like, actually, no, I have the documentary here. How about we play the documentary? So we played the documentary for people that never heard about the documentary. And then I spoke right after on that empty slot. So people actually got to see the Venezuela documentary, which they absolutely love, because, you know, I had this slideshow. I had to skip a couple of slides because I was just going to talk. I had only 15 minutes to talk about on stage. But so they watched the documentary for 30 minutes, and then I talk about, and then we opened for questions, and that was actually really, really cool.
Sweet. Excellent. So which documentary is your favorite, the Venezuelan one or the Colombian one? They're both good, but
I can't pick a favorite. I don't know. The Venezuelan one was harder to make it because I wasn't expecting to make one. So I was kind of all a big puzzle still in my head. The one from Colombia, I already knew what I needed. So it was faster and easier because I'm like, okay, I'm going to go there. I need this type of shot and this type of footage. I need to get this type of interviews. And I was already thinking about the speech, how I'm going to introduce. You know, I always like to add a little drama. In the end, a lot of people comment on the last 1 minute of the documentary where I have a speech there, which I take no credit for that speech. I'm going to reveal the big secret. That speech does not belong to me. I don't know if you guys know who it belongs to. Nobody got it. They were going to get it. So that's the speech that Morpheus gave it to Zion when the machines were approaching.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So I just replaced the word machines to banking system, and it fits perfectly.
Wow, you red pilled us without actually giving us the red pill.
Yeah, he slipped you a roofie.
Yeah, I like those documents. I love how you do the where you're getting prepared and getting ready. I like that at the first of the videos and stuff. That's cool.
Yeah, I want to show people. I mean, it's not easy, guys. I mean, I never budget those documentaries. I do from my heart because I absolutely love it. Maybe I should budget in the future as well. But I want to show people how hard it is. It's not just pointing a camera. You have to have some sort of structure or some sort of idea, and the materials and time. Editing, it took me about 30 hours researching Colombia's history and make sure to give proper information, and then all the footage that I had, another 50 hours editing all this in a way that makes sense.
Yeah. So when are you going to do one about New Hampshire?
Yeah, so I was invited by a guy that lives in New Hampshire the other day. Saying, "Hey, you got to come to PorcFest." So
yeah.
Let's talk about it. Yeah, that'll be
Yes,
good.
of course. So obviously, and that's one thing, because 2018, after like basically 2017, December 2017 is when I had my first Dash proposal for like an event. And then unfortunately I had to run some proposals with like, 20% fluctuation buffer. And then it goes down 30% before I get spend it.
Tell me about it, yeah.
But making things work anyway. But we had a lot of good top level sponsorships to a lot of great events last year. And now I'm going back to them and just saying, hey, do you still love us even if we're broke? And so we're kind of like, coming back. A few of them, there was a couple of them that turned out to be good events, but the sponsorship that we paid was probably, in retrospect, is probably not the best use of the money that we're, happy to be broke on this time. But then there's a couple like PorcFest that were phenomenal, as I'm sure that at least one other person in this conversation can attest, that now we're seeing like what we can get done with like limited funding. So having you come out to do a documentary of that would be, I'm sure, the best bang for its buck as part of that. So, we'll see what we can arrange. As always, the world is a crazy place. Before it was, the only place I knew that had any kind of Dash merchant adoption was like Portsmouth. Yeah. And then a little bit after, it was like Kiev. You could go and pay at a couple places. But now you can basically like take the world, spin it, and like throw a dart on there, and then 1 out of every 10 times you'll find someplace you can spend a lot of Dash.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm definitely down to. I already put on my calendar when you mentioned to me, so I'm definitely down. Let's see how the budgets we allowed to do something like this. I've been operating on over the budget, as I said, over the budget as well. I mean, hopefully this market goes up as fast as possible, because I'm tired of counting pennies everywhere. It sucks.
It's looking better.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd like to offer the perspective of everything's doing fantastic.
Yeah.
And I know we wouldn't. I know everyone's like, oh, it's just suck. It's just like someone says, how are you? Like, how are you doing? How are you doing in this bear market? Oh, and no one who's being honest is gonna say, oh, fantastic. Even Dash, which has done phenomenally by every non-price related metric, and very few people, relatively speaking, have lost their jobs. It's still kind of rough, but think about it. Think about everyone else. Think about Steam getting just cleaned out. Steam it.
Well, when I was in La BitConf in Chile in December, we had the biggest names: Andreas Antonopoulos, Adam Bach, all the main guys there. The tennis was not even 500 people to the event. Consensus, they had a booth there. On the first day of the event, they released the note saying, I think 70% of the personnel was fired. The guys that were in the booth, they didn't even come back next day. The booth, they paid, like the biggest booth, it was just sitting there the whole time, which I recorded a couple of videos there because it was empty. But the guys didn't even bother to come back because they're all let go, and it was
like tough, during the conference, they couldn't just like string it along until the conference was over and just be, by the way.
No, they walk away.
Wow. Yeah, but like they couldn't even tell them. Like they couldn't just say, we're talking some with HR, blah, blah, blah. They couldn't just like be on vacation or have communication problems until the conference was over and then say, oh, hi guys, good job. By the way, you're fired.
Yeah, I think HR was the first one to got let go.
So how do you think all the turmoil in Venezuela and stuff is going to affect Dash and Colombia and Brazil, all that? What's your opinion on that?
Regarding proposal owners or the country situation?
Just everything.
Well, the situation in Venezuela is getting worse. Now Maduro closed the borders, including the border from Brazil. A lot of countries are trying to send aids to the country. Some of them are calling it a Trojan horse. I don't really know how accurate this is as well. The country needs help, needs the basics from medication to food, right? I think Colombia, as I put on my Anarchapulco lecture and how I see it, Colombia has, like Venezuela are using Dash because of a desperation situation. Colombia can use it as an opportunity because a lot of Venezuelans are there working to send money back to Venezuela. Brazil, on the other hand, uses as a wealth grow. Like Brazil, there's nobody's interested about accepting Dash or spending Dash. Just in January, I set up 7 master nodes for one investor. Last year, 12. You know, people wants to buy master nodes. They want to see this as a savings account and they want to make the money. So 3 different markets. Right. Regarding proposal owners for Venezuela, I hope those guys can prove to the community that, you know, and I have to say, I'm not the best example of reporting to Dash Watch as well, because I've been late. I don't keep track of everything that I spend. But again, I run my proposal by myself. So for me, it's easier. But I hope they can prove to the network, you know, that they're worth staying or presenting other proposals and getting funded. They did a good job. We cannot forget that. In a place that needed, you know, the kind of leadership. But, you know, at one point they have to say, hey, okay, if we're going to see this more as an organization, we have to be organized enough to keep track of things. And, you know, people do a good job. They want to get paid well. That's fine. But, you know, let everybody know, you know, it's an open source network.
Yeah. And that's what I like about this. That's what happens with organic movements is you see some kind of like unfocused growth and then you kind of settle in on your gains and then like rinse and repeat. So, I mean, 2,500 merchants in a single year is insane. It's pretty great. And then you start looking at the transaction statistics and you're like, well, that's pretty good, I guess. And then there's like, well, some of the merchants are, you know, the merchants are doing great. Some of them, you know, they have the less than ideal setup of like having to hand the phone behind the counter to pay. And there's like a few little things like that. And it's like, well, all things considered, still a great job. And then you take those gains and you start to add an extra layer on top of that, which is now we're going to go back and see if we can get better point of sale systems. Let's see if we can have better support, better liquidity, more, you know, get those transaction count per merchant higher. Learn from our mistakes in the past, which does not make the past a mistake. The past is still resounding success, but you build on that. And like in the early days of crypto, it's like, oh, we're setting up tip bots. We're tipping people all over the place. Hey, here is a guy at a big sporting event holding a Bitcoin sign. We're all gonna win. Go to $1 million. Like all that childish, amateurish type stuff, which is fantastic for the time, right? It's like before there's nothing, then there's that, and then you're like, okay, we need to grow up a little bit. And what will make Dash stronger is being able to grow on its past kind of like young gains and make them more professional. Whereas sometimes you still see, like I was just going, my favorite subject when I'm talking sometimes is Litecoin. Sometimes I go to the Litecoin subreddit, and just after they added like the Bitcoin currency symbol into the little Google keyboards or whatever and smartphones, then the Litecoin subreddit, like 330 plus upvotes. The top one was they discovered that Polish letter that is the L with the dash through it, and we're like, yay, look, Litecoin's winning. And it's like, really? Like, is this where we are? So we don't want to end up like that, where we just say like, oh, there's a D with the dash through it. Look how awesome Dash is or whatever. It's like where we start like celebrating, oh, we have a whole country running on these kinds of payments. We have more real transactions than all the other cryptocurrencies combined. Whatever else, at some point we're trying to grow and reach something that's really cool and professional. What do you think so, Brian?
Yeah, what is there any like you go to all the different shows? Is there a Litecoin presence at any of these things,
No.
or is it? Yeah,
I mean, let me be very. From where I've been, I have not seen very much with. It seems like it's mostly Charlie Lee and maybe a couple other people. When you're looking at merchant stats for processors, like for example, AnyPay, Litecoin sometimes is like behind Dogecoin, and it doesn't seem to be used that much. And of course, there is still a BTC presence. There is still a BCH presence. I don't know about BSV since nothing supports it yet, but it is kind of interesting to see.
Yeah, Rod, what's your what are the big coins that are there at the different?
Well, I mean, I think Litecoin is just around because it was what the second cryptocurrency that came up. The market cap is huge. The volume is still huge. I don't see any advantage of using Litecoin except the block size, not the block size, the block time to mine is a little faster. But I don't really see it's like, wow, this is something really cool. Like, there's this advantage or this feature that is awesome. In Brazil, Smart Cash kind of had a big budget and they had a lot of partnerships, but Smart Cash is a project I see that is also tanking because at one point they had 75,000 master nodes, I think. Now, just yesterday, I read the news. So all of the sudden, the developers decided to change the collateral. So instead of 10,000 Smart Cash for master node, you need 100,000 without any warning. I mean, I was just thinking, like, can you imagine if you do this in the Dash community? You just change the collateral from the master node without even asking the network if this is possible, or
yeah.
So, and Smart Cash works really fast because it's a copy of Dash. But I mean, and I think their treasury is 70%. Everything's pretty unbalanced, and now they're trying to cut corners to see which way they can revamp the project. It's less than a cent.
So from what I know, of course, I don't want to spend too much time on Smart Cash, but from what I know, it was a fork of Zcoin that later they couldn't get the privacy features to work with everything else, so they scrapped that. But it was the main developer used to be a Dash developer. I don't think a core team developer. I think it was someone who worked on, say, like the vending machine. And as far as I know, the 70% treasury goes to something that's controlled by the core team rather than it is in. And because I know that there were some people, I remember our good old friend of the podcast, Ben Swan, when he was seeking to be funded by them, some people did not like that and they submitted proposals trying to gauge sentiment on why, like, should we fund this guy with all our money or not? And then the developers did not allow those proposals to go through. They blocked the proposals.
It's more of a joke than anything. Yeah, they're government.
Well, I mean,
they spend a lot of money. They spend a lot of money on market integrations in Brazil, but yet, if you gotta buy a helmet, pay with Smart Cash, you need a large quantity of tokens, and then there's no liquidity on the exchange to provide this if you want to exchange it back. So because everything is unbalanced, there's no really. It's not really happening, but they had a lot of money because of the high percentage of the treasury, which proves that if the system is unbalanced, it doesn't really work. But apart from that, I mean, Bitcoin's king. Bitcoin is everywhere. That's the talk. I don't think Bitcoin's got to go anywhere. Bitcoin SV became a joke. I haven't seen anybody. I think most of the people that I know that got Bitcoin SV ended up getting rid of these when the prices were the same as Bitcoin Cash. As well.
So what I will say about SV, from what I know, is there were a few of the, when you're always looking at competitors, and I view Bitcoin Cash as a competitor, not like an enemy, not like but just like, hey, they're doing a lot of the same things. It's like, let's try to keep an eye on what they're doing. Some of the things that made me like worried and excited, like excited, but then worried. A few of those projects moved over from Bitcoin Cash to Bitcoin SV. For example, Memo.cash, the Money Button, the Hand Cash wallet with little like username, send and receive the username type things. A lot of those kinds of things moved over to SV. And of course, I'm thinking that's not a very good idea for their part, but at least it's like, if you think about projects like, where would Litecoin be without Charlie Lee? Where would Bitcoin Cash be without Roger Ver, for example, and Bitcoin.com, let's just say. And of course, Dash doesn't really have any, and Dash has its treasury and its ecosystem. It doesn't really have a big old benefactor or something like that. But anyway.
Yeah, there's a lot of things happening. And then once I see, the amount of proposals being presented at the Dash network, some professional proposals, and because of the price is so low, there's not enough budget for everybody. It's hard to tell people, say, hey, don't give up, because the system works. It's just a hard time for everybody. Not in all projects. There's not enough funds.
Yeah.
Maybe everybody grow all the projects, they grow too fast. Now they have to cut and short things here and there in order to keep operating.
Now that's why we have always been, Dash Force has always been pretty lean. We've always kept as much as we could do with as few people on board as possible. And we have a bunch of projects we just sort of scale back. So we've been okay. But that's the other thing.
Pretty big cuts, though. We've cut some people, and it's been tough. Yeah,
it has been tough. It's been like just like the core team. I'm sure we've been very just like them. Cut a lot of superfluous stuff. Try to keep it to a minimum, and just make it through. Now, one thing I would absolutely, if you're looking to start a proposal today, please just look at the landscape. Look at how many proposals are trying for it. Look at how many ones are mainstays, are probably going to pass. Look at how much money is available. Don't waste your money if there's no chance. Because so many proposals just like, I'm going to put a proposal in this cycle, and then just goes in. I'm like, oh no, you're going to start feeling bad because people like what you're doing. They want to give you money, but there just isn't any to give, or there's other ones, and then just the no votes start coming in, and you're just like, oh, what am I doing with my life? I'm going to, no, maybe not. But I'm just saying.
I'm reaching. I'm almost there. I'm almost reaching this point.
Yeah. Well, the spray and pray. At least we got. Do you remember what was the lowest Dash got this last year? Was it on 50? It was in the 50s.
50 something. Yeah.
It was at 58 or lower, and we're not 58 or lower today. So, hallelujah.
Yeah.
We had a good couple of weeks. Anyway, Rodrigo, last time I think he was on the podcast was actually on the Christmas special, right? Is that correct?
Yes. Just came in to say hi for a short time.
And you gave us a little update on Litecoin, right? Doesn't have the C in it. Litecoin. Is that correct?
Yeah. Correct. Electropay, man. That's something that's taken a lot of my time.
Right. So for those that are unfamiliar, this is a POS solution that Rodrigo and his partner in crime, whose name is that I forget,
Nelson Kameda from China.
And he's like, he's the technician. Like he's the
brain. Anything that has electricity, he's able to make it talk to a blockchain. The guy's fantastic.
Wow. Okay. So last time, I think on Christmas, you said there was some kind of partnership with a Brazilian exchange. Is that correct? Can you just talk about that and how have you progressed since then?
Yeah, so actually we got our first client because we ran out of money and we didn't want to look for investors because both of us, we don't want anybody breathing on our necks saying, hey, when it's got to be ready. I mean, starting a global project's not easy. It sucks. So we actually partner this exchange that called 3xbit.com.br, which once I as well made a couple of videos and I interviewed them during an event. I mentioned to them about trading pairs. So next week, they got all the developers to create Dash trading pairs with all their crypto. So if you're a trader, you can trade Dash pairs with Ethereum, Dogecoin, Litecoin, as Dash being the main pair, right? So the guy loved the Electropay project. We told him, hey, we want to sell the units. So he actually paid upfront for 2,000 units that we're currently making right now. He has a plan to distribute those 2,000 units. He has merchants in Brazil that already sign up to have a prototype in a city. They got to create like a crypto city project. And then, of course, those POS units, it's a multi-coin one because we came to a conclusion that makes no sense to make a single coin unit because most of the merchants, they're not going to accept just one crypto. If they're going to accept Bitcoin and Dash, what they got to do, they got to have to buy 2 units. Makes no sense. So we had to develop a multi-coin unit with a touchscreen procedure. So all the units will have 6 cryptocurrencies. And of course, Dash is one of them. And probably in 2.5 months, we got to have those 2,000 units up and running in Brazil, which will allow 2,000 merchants to be able to accept Dash. So that's one task. The main task is to see how people are gonna use those units. If people are really willing to, take the real, buy Dash, and spend in Dash. That's another part of how we gotta contact the normal user and say, hey, why should you buy crypto and buy your pizza or your coffee with Dash if you can just pay directly with fiat? So that's the second challenge you will have to face.
How is the Dash community in Brazil right now? Because when I think of Dash Brazil, I think of the Telegram channel that gets the most activity. It's got over 1,000 followers, but there's always something going on there. But I haven't heard much what's going on from Brazil in itself. Could that be a potential next location for a documentary for you? What's happening in Brazil at the moment in terms of Dash?
Yeah, Brazil has a different kind of guest, a different kind of crowd. There's more and more exchanges adding Dash. I was just contacted by Ernesto. He told me there's another exchange they'll be adding Dash this week or next week, so I'm gonna interview them. At the moment, I think we have 11 exchanges that accept Dash, which normally I open my channel to them to make announcements, to talk about whatever they want, because they have Dash. We have the 2 Telegram groups. We have, I think, 35 merchants that accept Dash. There's another POS, another payment system called CoinWise. They are accepting 250 business for Bitcoin and Litecoin and Ethereum. So I'm actually in the talks and the works with them to implement Dash. Should be ready in another month or so. So automatically we're going to have about 250 business accepting Dash in Brazil. But with all of them that I talk, they always say nobody's actually using Dash on a daily basis to buy goodies. Everybody's holding. Just in January now, I set up 7 master nodes for 2 different investors. Last year was 12. People that come to me, I recommend, like, hey, there's a Splawik, there's node 40. That's how much it costs. I can go with you the step by step, because Brazil sits on a great economic situation. Brazil has more money than all the other Latin America countries combined, right? Yeah. So Brazil just reached the highest level on the stock market. We have a new president who has a plan. So stock markets increasing, commodities are booming. Brazil exports oil, meat, corn, sugar, so coffee. So Brazil sits on a different economic position.
Jiu-jitsu, yeah.
Jiu-jitsu, yeah.
media hosts.
Yeah, media hosts, bikinis, right?
So, yeah, you went there, not me.
Yeah. So Brazil has a different crowd. People want to make money. Like in my channel, people just want to do trading. They always ask me, "Oh, can you get someone to do trading pairs with Dash and Ethereum? Can you do a technical analysis?" So it's a different crowd, and that's what I've been focusing more, giving news about communities expanding and Dash acceptance, doing the technical analysis for those channels, and promoting exchanges that accept Dash. And that's how the ecosystem has been growing.
Has there been any updates from CoinBR? Because there were, I believe, in terms of Brazil, is it Rosilio Lopez? He was the first guy to really come out the gate. And that was an interesting insight for me into Brazil, because they offered out the gate pretty much that you could pay in Dash any bills in Brazil, because bills in Brazil come with a kind of barcode. And this would enable you by standardization to actually use their exchange to pay Dash, to pay any of your bills in Brazil. So, but I mean, that was, I'm just guessing it probably about like a year and a half ago, but I'm guessing Rosilio's still there plugging away, because I see him at the events and stuff. But has there been any more activity from CoinBR? Because they seem to be the big player from memory.
Yeah, he is the big player. He ended up winning, I think, all the lawsuits against the banks. So the banks cannot close his accounts. And because it's a business account, now he actually is doing the integration. So his exchange is the one running all the money for the other exchanges, which are his competitors. So because he can have a cash flow, I think, of $500 million per month, and other exchanges got their account closed, so he charged the exchange a small fee to use his bank accounts.
Smart guy.
Right? So there's another five or six exchanges that are using his account, and there's nothing the banks can do to shut him down. Right? So he does a lot of OTC. Again, all those people that want to invest, they're looking for OTC to buy 1,000, 2,000 dashes. That's the market in Brazil. It's not like hundreds of thousands of transactions for $1, $5. It's large OTC transactions for master nodes for big projects like this. So he is a big OTC provider as well, and he's providing the solution for fiat for all the other exchanges in Brazil. So yeah, he's growing non-stop. He's going to organize an event in April, and hopefully I'll be there.
How are the other regulations there in Brazil? Is it favorable or?
Well, so far it's crypto is known as like some sort of a commodity. Like, for example, the same as a frame artwork. You buy at one price, and then if you sell and the price is higher, you have to pay tax on the difference between the prices. So there was one House of Representative member that was trying to create a bill to criminalize Bitcoin and crypto. It didn't succeed. So right now it's between like the IRS in Brazil, right, is saying that you have to declare your crypto assets, but the SEC of Brazil does not recognize crypto as an asset. So the governments are not really talking to each other yet. So whoever has the ideas to make the system works are making good money. And I mean, I know people that are making a lot of money, either with trading. Arbitrage is the biggest thing now in Brazil. I actually made a video with 6 different websites for arbitrage with all the APIs open, where you can buy in one exchange and resell Dash. And so there's one actually interview the guy today. He made an arbitrage website just for the exchange that has Dash, and all the books, you know, and how can you buy from this exchange and you resell on this one and go back there and buy back. And that's how the system is growing in Brazil.
So what about the payments system? Because everyone's talking about Dash as a payment system, and if it's as an investment only, mostly in Brazil, that could lead to some adoption barriers. But so do most people pay with cash or card?
With cards. I think today with cards, the banking system has the POS system. It's a little tiny POS system that if you have a business, you can pay in 12 payments. You pay the units, but the percentages are ridiculous. If you have a pizzeria and you accept Visa credit card, right, from your bank account, paying with fiat, if you want the money next day, you have to pay 7%. If you want the money in 15 days, you pay 5%. And if you want the money in 30 days, then you pay 3%. And people are using this nonstop because the banking system is what they believe in, what they trust. And that's how it's working.
Seems ripe for a crypto takeover.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait. I can't wait for the market to go back up. And if Bitcoin gets back to 15,000, 20,000, Dash is going to get back on the $1,000, 1,500, and then we'll see people actually offloading their pockets and consuming products and goods.
Yeah, so just from a very cursory check, it looks like Uphold supports Brazil and the real. And so that would mean, according to their base fees, 1.25% to convert instantly. And then when you want to move it to your bank account, that would be about a $4 fee. So depending on how quickly some businesses might want to move this, they might be able to save a lot in processing fees by using Dash. Now, here in the US, for example, I just did the quick calculation of it's about 2.5% to use whatever the card reader is at the coffee shop, for example. So if they wait until they have at least $200 worth to move it over, they actually save money with Dash. Sounds like that'll be way lower of a threshold in Brazil, right?
Yeah, actually, I just made a video yesterday. Actually, went up this morning on my morning show about Uphold. So Uphold will allow you to buy Dash with your credit card, with the Brazilian credit card. But then you're actually technically you're buying US dollars going to your US dollars account inside Uphold. And because of that, if you're using your credit card and you buy US dollars, technically you're making an international transaction. And in Brazil, there's the IOF tax that it's, I think, 7%. So just there, it doesn't work buying Dash with credit card for Uphold. And then you cannot synchronize your bank account into Uphold and do a wire transfer. If you have crypto, you can change to reais and hold in reais and then buy crypto back if the price oscillates up and down, right? Or if you have US dollars already inside Uphold, you can buy reais, but then you cannot withdraw reais to your bank account. You can hold reais inside Uphold, or you can hold dollars inside Uphold, but you cannot withdraw dollars. You can withdraw crypto in Brazil from Uphold. So there's still a few technical things. They have not technical, but legal things that probably they have to change.
Do you think that's a legal barrier that they can't send it to the bank account?
Probably it's a legal barrier, most probably.
Yeah, Uphold's a bit frustrating on my side of the pond as well. I mean, credit card, you can go direct, but obviously it's got the higher fees. The cheaper option is to do the bank transfer. However, I'm using British pound, right? However, they don't have the British pound on their side. So if I want to do a bank transfer, they've got their setup in terms of euros. So then I have to go for a currency exchange as well to convert it into euros to buy it. So then I lose out. So I basically get stiffed twice. So I love Uphold, but sometimes it's difficult I'll recommend it to anyone. It depends where you are in the world. If you're in the UK, there's probably other alternatives. But
yeah, isn't Ash working on something?
Yeah, my good friend Studio Stuga here just say, hey, put up holding contact with Rosello. Yeah, that could be a good bridge. I can connect them.
That would be
with no.
Yeah, that would be very good. As usual, every single time someone's telling me about the problems with cryptocurrency, it's like one of two things. It's one of three things. One, it's too hard to use. I can't figure it out. I lost a bunch of money on my phone because I didn't back it up, whatever, something like that. Two, it was back in 2017, Bitcoin was impossible to move around. But the third one, and the most common one, is always something associated with fiat. Oh, because this exchange with my bank account, that's why crypto sucks, is my bank account. It's always something like that, which is, I mean, it is a valid thing we have to address, because how are people going to get crypto? But it's like, you know, for some people, it's like, you know, the Hotel California. Once you get into crypto, you can never leave. You can go anywhere, stay as long as you want. But when you try to leave, it's just like, oh man. So that's one thing that I noticed. For example, if you convert to crypto, or from crypto to fiat, if you buy crypto with fiat and then you convert out at the other end, it can be expensive. But once you start to connect some hops, like say you pay the merchant takes the crypto and pays someone else, and then that person converts, then it becomes more efficient. And then the more hops you can connect that are just in crypto, the better.
Yeah.
I'm going to show something cool here.
I went to say to get the shirts. This is the shirt that Rosello started the campaign, right?
That's good.
And then he changed it to fork the banks, right? But because believe it or not, he's actually starting a bank in Brazil, because he's gonna be the one providing fiat or liquidity to exchanges. It's gonna be a bank for exchanges only. So he told me that. I'm like, I can't believe you're gonna be a banker now, but it's just to provide liquidity for fiat and exchange. So that was actually a pretty good move.
Wow. Okay. Okay. I want to get a little bit controversial now.
Oh,
right.
Oh, no.
As we're talking about payments and stuff, it'd be wrong with me not to ask you, because I'm dying, and I'm sure a lot of people that watch your documentaries are probably thinking this as well. I really enjoyed both your documentaries, right? But
here's a curveball.
The Colombian documentary was kind of like a sequel, because in that, in terms of payments, you reflect on your time in Venezuela and how things have changed and progressed since then. And I think a lot of people were watching that, and you show footage from your trip from Venezuela and how things are changing. And obviously we have many competing projects in Latin America. And obviously you speak about ElectroPay on that as well. I think some people wasn't expecting you to go kind of, it wasn't criticism, but you would, well, actually, yeah, it was. Okay, let's be honest. It was criticism about Venezuela. You're saying like, what we've done is okay, but we need to take it to the next level now, because we need to make progress. We can't stay where we are, because we have to acknowledge these problems and make payments easier. So watching that documentary, it felt like you had a lot of weight on your shoulders, and you felt like you had to get a lot off your chest. Would that be right to say? Because that's how it kind of came across.
Yeah, for me, like paying with crypto, because until then I was just buying gift cards online and buying, using solutions online. So once I actually had my phone and I had crypto and I had to pay for goodies on a daily basis, every time I had to make a payment, or most of the time, I had to hand my phone to someone. And they're like, oh no, come around the corner, you can scan the QR code. Or like the reporter from RT, she went there to pay for something. The boss took the cell phone away, so the guy couldn't accept crypto. Because some people just print the QR code and live there for months, right? So those are all barriers that, I'm like, oh, you shouldn't have the QR code printed the whole time there. Or I don't want to give you my cell phone for you to scan. The girls in Colombia that had the burger place, they had a broken cell phone. The screen was all smashed, but you could still scan the QR code. And she's like, yeah, the boss gave us his old cell phone to use as a POS receiving system. For those businesses in Latin America to buy a phone or a tablet or a whole computer that costs $200, $300, $400 just to accept crypto, it's not really a payment solution. So putting together all those challenges, and for me, I mean, I like my phone. I'm addicted to my phone. I don't want to be handing my phone. Plus, besides my phone, has my wallet with me, so I have all my cards, my driver's license. It's all in one package. So I always have to give my phone with all those credit cards and business cards and a driver's license to someone. And I'm like, well, see that there's an inconvenience. Maybe we need a better solution.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, that did not come across at all in the first documentary, but in the second one, when talking about Colombia, it did. Did something change in your experience before those, or did you just decide to talk about it more in the second one?
Well, I did. The first documentary after Venezuela, I start thinking about the ElectroPay. That's when we start actually working on it. Was actually July, August. So it wasn't really clear. We had to develop, ways and system. And I didn't want to create a POS unit that looks like a credit card machine. And then on the second part, when I was in Colombia, the same challenge, people handing the phone, QR codes printed, or, hey, come around the corner. Or let me call the boss because he took the cell phone away. And I'm like, see, this is more clear. It is definitely there's a need for a solution there, and that's where we're trying to sneak ourselves in this race, the POS race and payment system inside web pages. It's a race. Whoever gets this done right first is gotta be leading.
Okay, yeah. Edward from Dash.red is in the live chat. And he's just made a comment saying that the printed QR codes work well. It's bulletproof. And we know George Donnelly of Dash Colombia has really been utilized to full effect. What's your opinion of that? I mean, I've not been to an establishment that has the printed QR code, but I guess that is straightforward. But I guess if we're going through the step-by-step process, if I'm a customer there at a restaurant, I get the bill, they say it's this much Colombian pesos, and then I'm like, okay, I worked out on my phone, I scan the QR code and send it. But then I'm guessing the merchant behind still has to have a mobile phone or something to be able to verify that the payment's gone through, correct? But it makes the process of making the payment easier. So what's your opinion of the printed QR codes?
Printed QR codes work well. It's there and it's working. Sooner or later, people will realize that you can scan and know your balance, which can can create a security, a safety issue on the merchant. So the merchant will have to have another cell phone or to see, okay, the transaction came in, thank you. Or you have to actually ask the person, hey, let me see your cell phone or show it to me, your cell phone to show actually to prove that transaction went through. And this type of, back and forward, if you put in a mass scale, for example, in a supermarket, this will create lines because it's, more time here and there. But yeah, printed QR code works and it's always got to be work. One solution is always maybe print a new one every week, every day, but the merchants needs to be aware that you can scan that and know everybody's balance.
Right. Okay. Sorry to grill you, but this is really important, right?
Yeah.
Because I like
that's the thing is anyone can watch the documentaries and just see some stuff, but not everyone gets to actually talk to the man behind them and get their questions answered. You can ask questions at a static video all you want. Why did it this way? And it's not going to answer you, but Rod will answer us right here.
Right. So I really like the look of the ElectroPay device. It's sexy. It lights up. I saw the Dash thing. So now we know it's a multi-coin device. And you said hopefully in the following months there's going to be 2,000 devices. Now, do you know the cost of that manufacture? So I like it, but is it feasible? Is it viable? Do you know how much those units are going to cost? So if Joel onboards a merchant and he says, right, okay, I want them to use one of your devices, how much is it going to cost Joel to buy that device?
Okay, without shipping, the single coin, $50, just like the Dash unit, and the multi-coin, $100, right? Without shipping from China. But this is if you order in a large quantity of like 1,000 units. As soon as we have more money and we can create make a few units and have on standby ready, we should be able to sell to those prices. We also, of course, because of so many requests, we got to create just the POS unit without the POS system so people can use as a night light saying Dash accepted here because we had a lot of requests for those.
So you can buy just a Dash one for $50 at a lower price.
Correct.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
$50 with the printer. Nobody really liked the ones without the printer. So people want to have the receipt. And then we'll print 2 receipts, one for the client to take away and one for the merchant to put inside the cashier to, close his books at the end of the day.
Yeah, so what's the setup like with one of these machines? Because I see them and I see them being used. They look interesting, and all I'm running through is like, oh, I would love to get one and take one to the merchant and be like, here you go. But like, what is the setup process behind using it from just nothing?
So the single coin, you'll be able to store your addresses into the machine, right? And then every transaction will switch to a different address, so it never reveals the last address.
Yeah, so that means you got to get the XPub key from your own wallet into the machine. How does that work?
You just have to copy and paste your addresses into the machine, and for you to save into the hardware, you have to be physically pushing a button.
Okay, so you have a computer, and you connect the machine to your computer, and then you use it to open an app or something? Is that how you access the machine?
No, the machine has a Wi-Fi network, so it's broadcast Wi-Fi network, and you connect through your cell phone.
Okay, and then it's an app on this phone or something.
No, it's just an IP through your browser. You type the name of the entry, then you have to create a password for you to access the IP address inside the network, and then you have there just to copy and paste all the addresses, and then you store on the single coin. The multi-coin, yes, that one actually is going through our server. We ended up actually buying an exchange from a developer, a white label exchange, to run, I think, almost 200 different blockchains.
Whoa. Rewind. You bought a cryptocurrency exchange. You can't just skip over that. Like, that doesn't happen every day. You bought an exchange.
We bought a white label exchange, which is an exchange that's up and running. We just changed the logo, but actually it's not going to be an exchange that everybody has access. We're just using the technology behind the exchange. Nobody can go there and buy crypto. But our POS will be connected to the exchange. Every transaction will generate a new address. It's got to come through we got to be running all the blockchains, of course, all the data. And then it's got to charge us the percent that we're going to charge a fee. That's how we're going to intending to make money per transaction. And from our exchange or our server, there will be an IP connected to any other exchange that will provide the fiat liquidity. So if the merchant knows Bitcoin or not, if he cares about Bitcoin or not, it doesn't matter. He will put this POS on the top of his counter, right? Accept Bitcoin. And once he does the setup, which will be only one time, he can choose, okay, I want 100% fiat. So in a matter of 1 or 2 hours, the Bitcoin will go through our server, through the local exchange, whatever exchange he decided to use. They'll be partnered with us. And it goes to his bank account already synchronized to that exchange, whatever fees the exchange charge. And by our calculations, comparing to the POS model that we have in Brazil, we'll be able to provide crypto to fiat into the bank account in approximately 1.5 hours, charging about 3.5% fee in total, which in Brazil, if you pay with your Visa and you want your fiat in your bank account on the same day, it's impossible. You have to wait 24 hours, and it's a 7.5% fee.
Sounds great.
So it's not country specific, but if Joel bought a bunch of 10 of these devices to set them up in New Hampshire, technically he could go through your exchange, but there'll still be that 3.5% fee, correct? For US dollars.
For our exchanges, it's 1% fee, right? But if he wants just the crypto, he just has to connect through our exchange. He's got to synchronize his wallet, whatever, and then his address, and then it goes straight crypto into his address, and that's it. But if he wants fiat, his business wants fiat, we're still looking for exchanges in the US, which we have not even started, but we have to actually connect with an exchange with their API, and then the exchange will do whatever KYC will connect. We don't want to deal with fiat. The exchange already has the fiat solution ready. We just provide the hardware. And then Joe will have to open an account on that specific exchange, synchronize his bank accounts, and then depends how fast the exchange is to provide fiat liquidity, and that's how we go from there.
So say I set up a new merchant here, and I get him a Dash. They have an Android phone. The boss has an Android phone. I say, okay, here, get the Dash wallet, and then you have Uphold through it. So get them set up with Uphold, and then they take their Uphold, the address that automatically converts to US dollar, and then they just put that into the ElectroPay system. Then they'll just receive everything straight into their Uphold account, and they can just cash out, right? Or they can, or they put their XPub key instead you can put the XPub key, right? Or do you have to manually copy all the addresses?
No, you'll be able to put an XPub key. I'm not really sure how this works, but I know Kameda and Nilber, our CTO, knows they already developed this XPub key, so it generates a new address every transaction.
Nice. So the other one, so say the boss then can just get their Dash, have their notification on their phone. Whenever they get a payment, if they want to hold on to the Dash and maybe convert later, then it just pays to the little device and it prints out the little receipt. Oh, that works just fine as normal. And they get bing notification. Oh, someone paid in Dash at my store, even though I'm not there today. And then they can just move it to Uphold later and then cash out if they need to.
Through the API system and through our exchange server, he'll be able actually to move to Uphold if they have of course, if they have an API, or if you just copy and paste the address right away, and he'll be able to monitor this either to his receiving wallet or through the login that he will have at electropay.com portal, that he'll have all the transactions there and everything organized and nice and pretty.
Yeah, interesting. So that would be I mean, of course, I'm always thinking live. Of course, that's the thing. We're not just talking about the news. We're also like making it live. But just thinking about how that would be a good package to offer to a merchant, to just say, hey, we're going to give you this device. You can accept payments, and it goes straight to your bank
account.
Or pretty much straight to your bank, or straight to your Uphold account that you can just hit a button, switch to your bank, whatever. You're going to save money on fees. You're going to get a bunch of new people coming in because it's going to be on Discover Dash. And then we're going to we're going to do some little press and have a little local meetups and stuff there.
And you don't even need to know what is Bitcoin, what is blockchain, what is Dash. You just set up the units. The merchant will have to actually put the serial number on the unit, log into the ElectroPay, create an account, give all the information once. And once this is up and running, that's it.
Is it KYC information though? Like what kind of information they give? Is it just literally just putting in the XPub key and creating their merchant account address, or is there because of the exchange, is there more information you require?
No KYC at all, because we're not dealing with fiat. As soon as the transaction comes through our server, we're gonna extract our percentage and send it straight to either his wallet or his exchange. If he wants fiat, then he needs to deal with exchange and the KYC, which we don't want to get into that business at all.
Interesting.
Yeah, Studios asked a really great question about if you could print out a paper wallet from your machine to sell the Dash. I know there could be regulations, I'm sure, in American stuff with the money transmitter, but other countries.
That's product number 2, already under development.
Nice.
So have you guys seen those paper wallet that has the Dogecoin logo and there's space for the QR code and looks like a money bill? So what we're doing is we're creating a roll of paper that is just that type of paper, and one unit that only prints to sell crypto. So this is going to be a separate unit. So the merchant will have to have this on the top of his counter. If anybody walks to him and he has already connected that unit to the ElectroPay server, he will be able to buy Dash Bitcoin, right, from that unit. So he will pay the pizzeria cash. The guy will have a special code to type and print a paper wallet with the private key already in a paper shaped format, and check right away like a paper bill. We're going to be printing a paper crypto bill.
What's the cost to the merchant for doing that?
We don't know. We don't know.
You don't know yet. Yeah.
We know it's possible because as we can print private keys coming from our server, we thought about printing already on that special wallet paper that looks really cool, that looks like a dollar bill. And then we had the idea to make these other units, but we didn't even start yet. It's possible. We know we can do it, but we gotta first of all finish those 2,000 units. We're not taking any orders. We don't want to take money from people, which we already offer. People already offer us money. It's quite amazing.
It's an interesting concept, because say that you're a local grocery store. So in the UK, we have typical corner shops. If you were an owner of one of those establishments and you wanted to offer the ability to sell cryptocurrency, really your options are quite limited. You could get a general Bytes ATM. We've seen they're quite popular, but that requires quite a bit of investment, right? You've got to pay. I think their lowest model costs over $3,000. This device would make it a lot more accessible. And I'm guessing if you can offer some percentage to the merchant to do that, it's low cost for them to purchase compared to an ATM. They don't have to maintain it, unload bills, check the servers and all that sort of stuff, which a lot of people overlook when you're buying a general bytes. There's a lot of administration work that you have to do to upkeep and maintain it. So this might actually be a good avenue to help get crypto into people's hands. And especially if it's cash in hand as well. I'm all for decentralized exchanges, but it's not there just yet, right? And more and more people, especially with governments now cracking down more on crypto and people talking about taxes, people are becoming more cautious with KYC. And we see quite a bit of this with local Bitcoin still being quite popular, depending on who you're buying from. So yeah, I think this is a really interesting business model. I just hope you can keep the unit price down. Because I'm guessing people are going to have to reorder this special paper from you, and then you're going to have to get all that set up. So as long as you can streamline the process, I think it's a good business model.
So for the second unit, right, we're going to actually make money on the hardware because we don't want to charge any fees, because the merchant will be able to negotiate. Someone will be able to walk to you and say, hey, can you sell me $200 in Dash? And okay, I'll sell you $200 in Dash for this amount. I'll give you back, 2 point whatever 4 dashes. So you will type on the POS 2.4 dash, enter extract. It will generate the private key, and then you receive the money right away. So the merchant will be able to do whatever price he wants to sell. It's not gonna be up to us. There will be no fees or anything like that yet. But then we have to have a separate unit connected to a different type of API, plus this special paper that will print into a paper wallet looking like a money bill. So
what do you call this device? You can't call it like an ATM, can you? No, so what are you calling it?
We don't have a name yet. We don't have this idea came up about a month ago. Then we thought about it. Started how we could actually have more colors into the paper roll and make it prettier. And then like, well, why don't we just create, actually Nelson had the idea, why don't we just create a paper wallet type style, and then we print the private key on it. And
I can see it now. I can see Amanda doing a video, Dash in the box. Do you remember that? That's exactly what it's going to be. I think it's great. It might be a great campaign.
I hope so. I hope so. I'll take it.
Oh boy.
So what are like the upcoming conferences that you got this year? Anything planned?
Well, for March, I don't know how my proposal will do. My proposal is up for voting. It's very competitive. I mean, there's not a single proposal there that I can criticize and say, hey, this is not going to work. All the proposals are just top notch. So it's up for the masternodes to decide it. If I don't get any funds for March, I'm going to just slow down on the traveling, try to get there later. I hope I get approved. So support. For April, there is the event in Brazil, Rossello, the summit, April 6th, that he already invited me to go. So I have to see about that flight tickets and costs and everything. And normally I will bring my student because his event's kind of important. And then there's a lot of important people. And I then create 10, 15 interviews, everybody, even though sometimes they don't deal with Dash, but I have important people talking about Dash under the Dash logo in the channel. And that's how I be able to bring so many exchanges and partnerships because of hosting a professional talk show about Dash. And maybe I think Joel mentioned June PorcFest.
Yep, and late June.
Okay. And then if I get funded, then I'll just get at my events websites that I have a whole bunch of places there that I can see important events where I can jump in and go from there.
Now, I was just thinking, because we're always talking about if my proposal passes, and there's so many proposals out there, so many that pass, so many that don't. And one thing that's happened is there's been a lot of projects were kind of doing their own thing. I'm going to just start from zero because I want my own team funded, etc. Now we're finding out a lot more projects are going leaner and cooperating with each other, being more efficient, which is fantastic. And then you have other projects that are kind of going to a for-profit business type model, or some of it raise donations, other things like that. Do you know what Bitbacker is?
No.
It's basically a crypto Patreon that I know the creators are kind of local here to me, and so I've been trying to get them to put in Dash, and they've been wanting to integrate Dash. But basically, what would you think of the idea? Now, this isn't saying like don't do a proposal, but it's like, say, for the people like you who don't charge a lot of money, that have like varying levels, you're not just going to be like a big Dash Nexus migration kind of proposal that just like, oh, we're not going to be able to afford bread for months if this passes. It's not like one of those. About being kind of like, oh, well, we can't get a proposal through, but we're small enough that now we can just go on Bitbacker and then be sponsored by Dash fans to go around and keep doing this kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm definitely need to get that website. I mean, I just don't want to work for free as long as my expenses are paid. If something happened, I can always start a donation campaign for 1 month and things like this.
Yeah, or for specific conferences for a travel budget. That's always been a problem with me. I've found out as well is in the past, I included a bunch of conferences and the travel for that in conference sponsorship proposals. And then I was like, hey, does Dashforce have any extra budget? And then the price was tanking. Nah, not really. And so I had to pay out of my own pocket. And then, but sometimes it's like a last minute thing of like, oh, I need to go someplace. Oh, I don't want to lose the money. I just can't go. So having that as a kind of background thing, especially when you don't have a proposal, like, although to be fair, I mean, you've done very well in proposals so far. So you're probably one of the last people who has something to worry about.
It's just a lot of good competition, you know. I mean, it's I think that's the beauty of the system. Too bad, you know, there's the price is so low, there's not enough funds for everybody, but I think it raises the bar for every single proposal owner who wants to keep doing a job or who wants to get into the Dash network, that they say, hey, listen, man, this is not easy. It's not easy money. You have to provide a good quality of work because everybody's watching.
Hey, you know what else you can do? When you start, next Wednesday, this coming Wednesday should be when the Dash dips activate, and then you have to have your new masternode up. Now, if you're doing that, remember, you can allocate a percentage of your rewards to a different address, which is supposed to be your operator, but it really can be anyone, like maybe a guy who runs around and interviews people and stuff, which of course, since you're asking for a treasury, is absolutely not necessary right now. But just thinking about in the future for projects, I'm sure some people might just be like, hey, I'm going to designate a percentage of my master rewards, kind of like my charity. Like I need this much, like this much is the money I make from my own investment and my own work. But then I'm going to give like a tithe, like a 10% to charity, a 10% to Rodrigo, you know?
I love that.
And he wears the big white robes and goes like this, and we have a statue of him and stuff. And there you
go. So you said that you'd be doing some technical analysis videos recently and kind of switching lanes to cater to your audience. Have you done any recently, and what's your future outlook for crypto prices? Because we're hearing lots of speculation, but do you see this market turning around?
Yeah, I don't do technical analysis. I learned my lesson from trading for when I lost money, and then I decided never to try it again. That's how we learn. But I have two guys that they do technical analysis for my channel using the tools that 3xBit provide, like the pairs like Dash Ether, Dash Bitcoin. Nano is a huge community in Brazil, so I have a lot of people from the Nano community watching our channel because we have technical analysis pairs of Dash Dollar and Dash and Nano Dollar as well. It's just ways to bring members from other close communities inside our channel, you know, and then, you know, one or two guys always stays like, yeah, you know what, this Dash thing is really cool. I might, you know, invest. And that's how the channel's been growing. You know, we reach, I think, 12,000 followers. Normally the views are 1,000 followers per video, plus the podcast. We got approved on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and SoundCloud. The audio for everything I also export. So it's a whole social media package that goes, and it's been growing. I mean, we haven't been stopped growing at all.
After the podcast is finished, would it be possible if you could forward on details to either Justin or Joel on the videos that you mentioned about arbitrage trading? Because I think that would make a fantastic article. Because you mentioned 6 exchanges and APIs and how you can not like game the system, but how you can essentially make profit. And I think with Dash, one of the great things our advantage is is instant send, and arbitrage trading is one of those use cases. And I think it is something we should be proud of, because other cryptocurrencies aren't able to do that are top contenders. So it is something that we should be proud of. However, most people don't know how to go about it, and how good is it? Is there really opportunity there? So I think if we can break that down, show screenshots and show people how it works and why it's beneficial, and explain why Dash can do this and other cryptos can't, I think that would make a fantastic article.
Yeah, I'll send you, there's I think 4 or 5 websites. I made a video, it's in Portuguese, how to become a millionaire with cryptocurrencies doing arbitrage. I learned about things like this. If you put a title, like this, you get 3,000 more views than anything else, But yeah, I'll forward you guys the websites. I think 2 or 3 of them have in English, which the guys were smart enough to put in English, because you have information from Brazilian exchange. And if you're doing crypto to crypto, you do not need KYC. So it's an opportunity right there.
Nice. Right, Rodrigo, it's coming close to that time. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you'd like to address?
No, I think that's pretty much it. I just want to say thank you for the guys supporting the Masternode, supporting my Anarchapulco and Campus Party events as well. In the past 6 months of Dash Digital Cash Brazil channel, it's been growing non-stop. Proposals up for renewal, so please support everybody. Tough months, a lot of good proposals as well out there. We've been working a lot with ElectroPay, so stay tuned for some of more of that information. We also got to have the Dash night light for you to put beside your bed, for a very cheap price, because it's just gonna be an empty aluminum case with the plexiglass. So stay tuned for that as well. I wish my day had 30 hours, because 24 is not enough for all the amount of work we've been doing lately.
Well, hey, you can get cloned, right? I mean, you're kind of like a cloned Mark in a different spot. So.
There you go.
Yeah, we can just keep cloning you. Sorry, Brian, I have to shave your head.
Right. Okay. So, where can people go to follow you? You're Dash Brazil on Discord, right? What's your Twitter account?
Twitter account is good question. Because I have my personal one, and sometimes
because you have a Dash Brazil one and you got your personal one as well. So I'm not sure which one you want to give out.
So @Dash Dinheiro with H. That's in Portuguese, and if you just translate Dash Dinheiro Digital into Portuguese, or Dash Digital Cash into Portuguese, and you Google, you will find the first 25 links are all mine. So my SEO is the toppest one in Portuguese, so you can't run away from my channel or my social medias.
And your YouTube channel is called
Dash Dinheiro Digital.
Exactly. Brilliant. Fantastic. Well, thank you, Rodrigo, for joining us.
Thank you for the invite, guys. I appreciate it.
Oh, Matt, thank you for coming on. I'm sure you're going to have to keep us posted. Arbitrage, but also any updates on ElectroPay. We want to let the podcast community know as soon as possible. So please keep us posted on that. Joel, would you like to take us out?
Oh, yeah. If you enjoyed this episode, you absolutely should like, share, and subscribe, and comment. I know the comments have been going away. You guys in the live chat are plenty lively, hence the live of the live chat. But afterwards, when Mark goes and reposts this thing on Saturday, no one leaves any comments, and I always look over them. I always look forward to half a sheep leaving half a comment, and that's always good. So make sure to leave a comment, share it all over the place. Who wouldn't want to see this, right? And the audio-only versions come out on Saturday as well, in case you just want to be listening to this while you're working out, like I know some of you do, etc., etc. Fitness is very important. So like, share, subscribe. And after this, we always do this thing called the after party, which is just like this, less formal, less professional, up to 10 people at a time, get a lot of juicy details. I know some people purposely don't make Friday plans because they're going to be on the after party until Mark starts seeing stars from sleep deprivation. So the way you get into there is you go to staydashy.com to get into the Dash Talk Discord. And then you start asking, hey, where's the after party? And you can ping myself, you can ping Mark, you can ping Brian, or someone else should say something, and we'll get you in there.
Excellent. Excelente. Well, that was episode 92 of the Dash News podcast. Thank you very much for joining us. If you found this video to be informative, if you enjoyed Rodrigo, let me know in the chats. Press that like button, smash for Dash. Yes, and fork the banks. Absolutely. Yes, so I look forward to joining some of you at staydashy.com in the Discord in the after party. Have a fantastic weekend wherever you are in the world. Stay positive, stay humble, but most importantly, stay dashy. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Bye-bye, people.